A time in the bustling realm of international diplomacy, a formidable alliance was taking shape to help boost economic cooperation among member nations and strengthen its economic and political relevance in the world. Our story begins around the beginning of the new millennium in the vibrant geographies of the four fastest-growing major economies, such as Brazil, Russia, India, and China. In July 2006, leaders of these nations met for the first time in St. Petersburg, Russia, on the margins of the G8 Outreach Summit. They gathered with excitement and a dash of intrigue, ready to explore the possibilities of a united front for economic and political cooperation outside the influence of the traditional Western powers. A series of high-level meetings of foreign ministers and other top government officials from these countries followed, eventually leading to the birth of BRIC. The acronym BRIC was first coined by Goldman Sachs in 2001, denoting a set of countries comprising Brazil, Russia, India, and China, considered to be an emerging market for new investment opportunities. The agency believed that given the policy assumptions, these four economies will emerge as dominant players in world affairs by 2050. On the 16th of June 2009, the first BRIC summit was held in Yekaterinburg, Russia. Moscow, with its iconic onion domes and rich history, welcomed the BRIC leaders with open arms. The summit adopted a joint statement of BRIC leaders and focused on economic cooperation and political collaboration. But however, whispers of a potential shift away from Western influence echoed through the halls of the Kremlin. In September 2010, South Africa, another emerging market economy, joined the group at the BRIC Foreign Ministers meeting in New York, and the bloc was renamed BRICS. Then followed summits one after another, bringing new surprises and challenges, sparking wild speculation about the discussions taking place behind the scenes. These moves widely inspired the economic landscapes of Brazil, the political corridors of Russia, the tech hubs of India, the manufacturing juggernaut of China, and the cultural mosaic of South Africa. The message was clear by now. These countries were no longer content to linger in the shadows of the geo-economic and political landscape dominated by the Western powers. The plot thickened as economic collaborations between BRICS nations deepened and joint initiatives flourished. The bloc has since then gradually embarked on a thrilling journey, leaving the world to ponder a tantalizing question. Would the BRICS bloc evolve into an increasingly anti-Western force? The five-member BRICS group currently accounts for 40% of the world's population and 26% of the global GDP. According to the decision adopted by the 15th BRICS Summit, 5 more countries, namely Iran, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Egypt, and Ethiopia, became member states in the bloc on the 1st January 2024. With this, the group's share of the world's population and global GDP will likely increase to about 46% and 30% respectively. Although applied earlier for membership, Argentina has decided not to join the bloc following the change in government. Meanwhile, BRICS is attracting a greater number of supporters and like-minded countries that share its underlying principles. Currently, 30 countries have lined up to join the group and are awaiting approval. This shows that the influence of the countries in the global south is increasing and the emerging economies are gaining more and more attention. The news of the expanded BRICS bloc's intentions is giving potentially disturbing signals to the global economic and political landscape. Is this a mere dance of diplomacy, or is it a revolutionary march toward an anti-Western alliance? The intrigue is palpable. The expanded group accounts for a sizable portion of world geographies, populations, and resources, including oil and gas, other commodities, human resources, and international trade. In 2014, BRICS launched the New Development Bank, NDB, with an initial subscribed capital of $50 billion, contributed equally by the 5 founding members. The New Development Bank, a symbol of their collective economic might, emerged as a rival to Western-dominated financial institutions such as the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the World Bank, WB. In April 2023, the bloc announced its plans to introduce its new reserve currency. The group is also actively considering internal trading in domestic currencies. These developments, revealing the bloc's intent to reshape the global narrative, particularly the dollar-dominated financial system, signal many more things in the offing. The idea of trading in currencies apart from the US dollar has been welcomed by the member states. Member countries such as India and China have already initiated mutual trade settlements in national currencies. The bloc is actively considering launching a digital or an alternative currency once the necessary infrastructure and conditions helping stringent monetary management are in play. Meanwhile, the increased use of local currencies will likely boost trade among member countries significantly and save them the high dollar conversion costs of international transactions. This is also very important for countries like Russia and Iran, who often face Western sanctions and the resultant expulsion from international dollar trading systems, like SWIFT. These countries are frustrated with the West, forcing and imposing economic and financial sanctions time and again, hurting their economies severely. Meanwhile, these sanctions, seen by many as a sign of Western hegemony, have led to strengthening the relations between BRIC states in the fast-evolving situation. For instance, with the outbreak of the Russia-Ukraine war, Russia is facing Western sanctions. Since then, India and China have drastically piled imports of Russian oil using currencies other than the dollar for settlements. This is a clear indication to the West that the BRICS bloc will seek to challenge the dollar's dominance going forward for their nation's best interest. Reduced dollar dominance of international transactions is seen as a blessing for most countries in the global South. This is more so for countries like Egypt and Ethiopia, facing a dollar crunch to repay their debts owed to international organizations. BRICS established the New Development Bank, NBD, mainly to fund infrastructure and sustainable development projects in member countries besides other emerging market economies and developing countries. According to the NBD website, the bank has so far funded 94 direct investment projects in each member country, totaling about $33.8 billion. The bank has also under consideration another 78 projects worth $18.9 billion for 2023 and 2024. Besides, NBD has also issued bonds denominated in local currencies. NBD's Contingent Reserve Arrangement (CRA) liquidity mechanism, established in 2015, also supports countries in emergencies of actual or potential short-term balance of payments crises. This is a great boon to nations facing a shortage of their dollar reserves to settle their international debts. Moreover, these countries often fail to meet the structural adjustment programs like cuts in government expenditure and increased privatization, deregulation, etc., mandated by the IMF as preconditions for loans. Thus, NDB has increasingly become an alternative source for developing countries for loans and developmental assistance. Therefore, it is no wonder why more and more countries in the global South are attracted by the BRICS and its policies. However, critics doubt whether this economic bloc can become an alternative to the US-led international order and whether the establishment of NBD or similar institutions can counterbalance Western institutions. First of all, the BRICS proposal to float a new reserve currency is supported by the member states for different political reasons. Russia is against a dollar-dominated financial system, as it fell victim to repeated Western sanctions for its allegedly faulty policies and wants to avoid its recurrence in the future. On the other hand, China finds this as an opportunity to promote its currency, the renminbi, RMB, as an alternative to the US dollar. China is expected to get the support of Russia for the initiative, as the latter currently has more than 17% of its reserves in the Chinese currency kind. The other three remaining founding members have varying rational reasons to stand by the proposal. Here, the key question is whether BRICS can qualify for creating a global currency meeting the necessary criteria for the purpose. According to the Bank for International Settlements, the dollar still accounts for about 90% of global foreign exchange transactions. For a currency to get wider global acceptance, it needs to possess certain fundamental qualities like trust and stability, which are built around certain crucial economic, political, and military factors. This includes the size of the country's economy, national income, demand for its assets, the size and quality of its financial system, comprising banks, investment firms, and other financial institutions capable of handling complex international transactions, political stability, and the size and strength of its military. It looks like the BRICS can outmatch the US in terms of GDP of around $25.46 trillion against the bloc's combined GDP of about $32.72 trillion. Similarly, the BRICS bloc can probably claim to have the strongest military in the world, as Russia, India, and China holding the second, third, and fourth positions respectively after the US as per the Global Firepower Index. However, this comparison is meaningless, as the BRICS bloc was founded only to enhance economic cooperation among developing countries. And it is not a military alliance at all, and the possibility of becoming one in the future is extremely bleak, given the ongoing regional situations like the border tussles between India and China. Incidentally, China has an ongoing border dispute with almost all its neighbors. The BRICS member states are known to have contrasting political and strategic stands on various global issues, each looking purely to safeguard its national interest. Given the fact that China enjoys a major share of the group's GDP and its status as the global manufacturing hub, it will try to make the maximum out of the situation to establish its influence and hegemony wherever possible. As the BRICS bloc expands with more countries with divergent political interests and ambitions, there will be a clash of interests, spurring frequent disputes within the bloc. Given that the countries have diverse cultural, political, and economic backgrounds, it looks increasingly difficult for the group to conduct its business smoothly as done previously. And the chances of arriving at a consensus on a common currency and monetary policy appears a distant possibility. As we look towards the future, with the next summit on the horizon under the chairmanship of Russian President Vladimir Putin, the world watches with bated breath. The BRICS bloc stands at a critical juncture, poised to further solidify its role on the world stage, advocating for a multipolar world order that emphasizes cooperation, mutual respect, and shared prosperity. In essence, the story of BRICS is a testament to the changing tides of global geopolitics, where emerging economies seek to assert their voice and influence. Whether this bloc will succeed in reshaping the global narrative and establishing a more balanced distribution of power remains to be seen. What is clear, however, is that the BRICS bloc has ignited a consultation about the future of international relations, one that acknowledges the growing signification of Global South in shaping the 21st century's geo-economic and political landscape. Thanks for joining us on this insightful journey. Stay tuned for our next exploration of geo-economic significance, where we'll dive deeper into unfolding narratives that shape the world.